Welcome to Family Court, where you're the unpaid employee of your own case. And the harder you work, the more it costs you. Think about this for a second. If you actually got paid for the hours you spent fighting for your kids in court, the research, the record keeping, the court appearances, the late night strategy sessions, the endless driving and the mental load, how much money would you actually have made by now? Or maybe the better question is, how much have you lost? Which I know is a really hard reality to face. So instead of talking about how much money you've actually paid out, let's take a look at how much money you would make if you got paid for this work. You've become your own attorney, your own paralegal, your own private investigator, and you're doing it all for free. Hello and welcome back to Black Sheep Diaries, where the black sheep finally get the mic, and apparently also the bill. I'm Nicole, and I've been trapped in family court for nearly 12 years and counting, not by choice, just on a never-ending defense tour. We'd also love for you to join our channel or be a guest on our podcast. But first, let's take a look at that calculator. Every week, countless hours are spent fighting for your children in family court. Also, please see our video on what fighting for my kids actually should look like. You gather every school report, doctor's note, text messages, and emails that could possibly serve as evidence. Each piece must be scanned, filed, and cross-referenced because one lost document could cost your case everything. And who notices? No one. And then comes building the arguments. You sift through evidence, identify patterns, craft persuasive points, and cite legal precedents. You're essentially a full-time legal researcher, except no one is paying you for your expertise. In fact, if you want your points heard in court, you have to pay someone else to navigate the system alongside you, an attorney, if you can afford one. That's right. After putting in all this unpaid labor, you write a check to a professional whose average rate is about $2.50 an hour for presenting your own case, if they even present your research that you gave them. Here's something even more absurd. Not only did no one teach you how to play the game, the family court system has its own discretion at its fingertips, which means it can change the rules. Judges and magistrates can interpret the rules their own way, and since no two people are alike, one magistrate's interpretation may vastly differ from another's. And decisions can shift without explanation. Terms like best interest of the child are highly subjective, and parental rights are filtered through the court's interpretation, which can change from one hearing to the next. You're expected to navigate the shifting landscape, strategizing and advocating, often without fully understanding why a court decision was even made. So you educate yourself in family law procedures. Years of experiences are compressed into months of research, asking questions, taking detailed notes on every answer, and trying to strategize despite not fully knowing how the rules work. Every step is trial and error because there is no roadmap. And mistakes have serious consequences for your case and ultimately for your children. Your advocacy work consumes hours every week, coordinating with attorneys, preparing questions, negotiating with opposing counsel, and keeping the guardian ad litem informed. And let's talk about that guardian. A GAL typically earns about $150 an hour for their work, but here you're doing the labor for free, building your case, while paying professionals to operate in court alongside you. Court time is just the tip of the iceberg. Sitting through hearings, presenting evidence, objecting when necessary, and waiting often for hours for the proceedings to even start. Each minute requires focus and energy, and yet the hundreds of hours behind the scene remain invisible. Driving and scheduling add even more hours. Trips to the courthouse, attorney meetings, school visits, expert appointments, they all consume time from your career and your personal life. You're donating both time and energy while paying to participate in the system you are sustaining. Even counselors involved in your child's case charge roughly $100 per hour on the low end. Research never ends. Hours are spent reading case law and legal strategies to make sure nothing is overlooked. For every hour spent in court, there are 2 to 3 hours at the very least spent preparing for all of it, and it's all unpaid. So let's do the math. Suppose all this work consumes 15 hours per week, documenting, prepping, research, driving to attorney meetings, court time, and self-education. That totals roughly 780 hours per year. At a modest attorney billing rate of only $250 an hour, the professional value of your labor is $195,000 per year. Add in lost income from your actual career, and the personal cost climbs to, let's say, $20,000 to $30,000. Over 3 years, the personal investment in your child's case, measured at professional rates, could exceed $585,000. And that's without counting the emotional labor, sleepless nights, navigating endless legal complexities, and the constant chronic stress that it takes protecting your children. All unpaid, all essential, and all your responsibility. The family court system is a strange and brutal machine. If you want to have a fighting chance in court, you need to perform the work of an attorney, clerks, and legal researchers, all for free. And on top of that, it assumes you already know how to play the game. And if you don't, well, that's your problem, because there's no leniency for not knowing the rules. For anyone living through this, surviving family court is less about winning and more about enduring the absurdity. If you think these numbers are off, congratulations. You've probably unlocked the deluxe debt package. So if you're still wondering why you feel like you've spent the last few years working a second unpaid job, well, now you know. Family court doesn't just take your time, your energy, and your sanity. It sends you the bill for it. And in the end, you're left with a stack of bills, a folder full of evidence, and the comforting knowledge that your labor was essential, but mostly to someone else's paycheck. Welcome to family court, where the real inheritance is the debt. What have you paid in family court, and how has it hijacked your career? Like, share, or tell us in the comments, or join us in the podcast. No retainer required. And we promise not to charge you $250 an hour just to talk about it.